Well, the best thing to come from this movie was I have my Halloween costume this year.
Guess who's back?
Shit.
Back again.
We back.
We're back with film reviews, and the first film we're actually going backwards. I've watched 7 films this year, and we're gonna do the latest film that I just watched. We'll go back to the beginning. In January of the first film we watched, but we're gonna start with the latest one I've seen, and then we'll go forward and I'll be on regular time after that. Like I said, we're actually gonna start with the latest film I saw in theaters, and this is my most anticipated film of the year. This channel started off with me doing film reviews, but then last year I realized I was just sounding so repetitive. Oh, this film is subpar, this film is subpar, that I was like, I'm just not going to do it this year. I like some of the films I've seen. Like I said, I've only seen 7 and we're in June, so I really haven't had the urge to watch films. But then I saw the trailer for Scary Movie 2026. Not only is the franchise Scary Movie back, the Wayans brothers are back, and when I saw this trailer, I was so excited for comedy to be back. The trailer was so hilarious. It had me laughing from beginning to end, and I could not wait to get in theaters and just laugh at the last decade, because no matter if you're right, if you're wrong, if you have an opinion that's correct, it was correct yesterday, it's wrong today. Nothing you say, nothing you think is correct. And it just became so frustrating. So when I saw this trailer and they're laughing at all angles, and it says that there are no safe places, they're gonna aim for everybody, I was like, bet, I'm there. And I will talk about this later, but I did feel actually personally attacked, which is the point of Scary Movie and what they were pointing at, to be honest, and I'll talk about that later. But Scary Movie 2026 came out June 5th, 2026. It's rated R. It's an hour and 38 minutes. It is directed by Michael Tiddles, produced by Marlon Wayans, Shawn Wayans, and Keenan Ivory Wayans. The budget was $30 million and distributed by Paramount Pictures. It stars Faris as Cindy Campbell, Marlon Wayans as Shorty, Shawn Wayans as Ray, Regina Hall as Brenda, John Abrams as Bobby, Chris Elliott, Lochlyn Monroe as Gregg Phillips, Olivia Rose Keegan as Sara Campbell, Cameron Scott Roberts as Jack, Damon Wayans, and Dave Sheridan as Doofy. So, like I said, this film was so amped up for me. When I knew this film was coming out, I was like, I'm going to get back into theaters. The Scary Movie franchise was formed basically by the Wayans brothers. You have Marlon Wayans, who is most known, I think. And although I did like Scary Movie 1 and 2, because those are the 2 films the Wayans brothers were in and had rights to, I mostly knew Marlon Wayans from Requiem for a Dream, one of his more serious roles. So, but it's always hilarious to watch him be funny. And then you have Shawn Wayans and Keenan Ivory Wayans. Let's talk about him real quick, because as much as this film was like, oh, we're back to the basics, we have the main core 4, which they don't like to use because obviously that's a new trend. So I love what they do with that whole aspect. But it's the return of the Wayans brothers, all this stuff, the return. I'm glad Keenan Ivory Wayans came back to help produce this film. I'm confused on why he didn't come back to direct this film. We have Michael Tiddles, who directed it, he directed some of the more off-brand scary films, or the genre of parodies, where he did like a haunted house, which wasn't as known. That was after the whole Scream debacle, and Scream 3, 4, and 5 went to the Weinstein brothers, unfortunately, and the Wayans brothers had no hand in any of those 3 films. I feel like this film could have been great, should have been great, and had Keenan Ivory Wayans directed it, like he directed the original, it would have been great. Also, another reason I think it wasn't as great is because they put so many of those iconic moments that could have been so iconic in the trailer.
He stabbed her! Not her! My pronouns are they, them. He stabbed them! Should we hug? I really want to, but I'm a Republican now, so I'm supposed to be racist.
Oh, girl, I think all white people are racist anyway. Come here.
Okay. Oh.
Hey there. We heard tell of a Halloween party. We're here to drink, play bad music, do some half gay shit.
Why just half gay?
That was supposed to be iconic, but again, they showed that in the trailer, so it was not as iconic, and it didn't get that much of a laugh. And I think, let's talk about the real reason this film didn't do as great is because even I saw it twice, and in both showings, the second time was the worst, but both showings, there was not much laughter. In the first film, I can watch the first two today and still laugh my ass off, have barrel rolls of laugh. This got a couple chuckles out of me. I think the Doofy stuff really saved it, but for me, that's because there's an inside joke. The mask at the beginning of the film and on the title card is going to be my Halloween costume this year. And my husband is actually going to be going as Doofy. And he one time said the whole, Sir Officer Doofy reporting for duty, and he did it so perfectly. And I want him to do it again, but he's saving it till Halloween. So for me, the Doofy section was very much an inside joke, and that's why it's so funny. But I do think Dave Sheridan as Doofy saved this film. Just his little one-liners, just when Brenda drops the shots all over the floor, and he's like, "You dropped your tray." Just so funny, just breaking up that tension. This is a decade's worth of horror that they're wanting to give a nod to. They give a nod to weapons, to substance, Sinners. I'll talk about Sinners really fast because the reason I felt called out in this film is because right before going to see this, I was telling my mom, she's like, "Oh, what movie are you watching?" And I was like, "Oh, we're going to go see," I saw it with my sister and my husband, "We're going to go see Scary Movie." And she's like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "It's basically a spoof, a parody of all these other films, such as, all the films I just mentioned, and Sinners." And I didn't watch Sinners last year. Had I, it probably would have been my number one last year. But I didn't, so it's still, that number one spot still belongs to bring her back. But I saw it this year, right before St. Patrick's Day, and I loved the film Sinners. I think it deserved all the awards. There's a point in this film where they say, "Oh, stop trying so much," because they're spoofing Jenna Ortega overacting in hospital. She's like, "Stop trying so much. Horror never gets any awards. Just ask Demi Moore." And I'm like, Sinners got an award and Weapons got an award, and both of them are parodied in here. So that's why sometimes the jokes just don't hit, because it's like, what? That doesn't make sense. They did get awards, and I'm so glad they got the awards. And Sinners, really, what got me was Michael B. Jordan's performance. I knew he was one of the brothers, and it didn't take me till about that ending, right before the third act, which in here, that's another joke that landed flat, because they're like, "Oh, now we're going into the third act," and they look around stupid. They're like, "What does that even mean?" I'm like, "Do you not know what fucking third act is? You're actors." Like, no one laughed at that, because it's like, how is that funny? How do you not know what third act is? But anyway, back to Sinners. That's when I noticed, Michael B. Jordan's playing both roles. So yes, that is amazing acting right there that I didn't even know until right before the third act. But I love Sinners because of the African American history in it, the history of music, as well as the Irish history with Remick. I think Remick is one of the best horror icons out there. Yes, my mom didn't know that it was about vampires. I give her that point. But she loves Ireland. We've been 4 times, so I really appreciated the Irish history with it. And she just scoffs at me, and she's like, "Ugh, I hated Sinners. That was such a stupid movie. That was such a waste of 2 hours." And I'm like, but it had such great African American history, Irish history, that which looked like a one-shot, wasn't really a one-shot, of all the history of music in one room at one time, that didn't move you? That didn't make you cry? Like, that was so moving and such a pivotal point in that film. And she's just like, no. And I'm like, oh, well, it was the culture. And the reason I'm mentioning it is because I feel called out, because at the third act, I won't spoil the third act and who the Ghostface are. Your only hint is that there are 4 black Ghostface, and it's a point that they really do are proud of. And they're like, yeah, there's 4 black Ghostface, and they all do this stance. And they're asking one of the Ghostface, after he's revealed, all these questions. And Ray, who they really do hone in on the gay Ray thing, so much so that another reviewer mentioned this, that seemed like Shawn Wayans wasn't that interested in being in the film. I think it's because he is so one note to just be gay Ray, over the top gay Ray, that he really had no other progression in his character. But it's just funny because they're asking one of the Ghostface all these questions, and then Ray just randomly says, yeah, and how big is your dick? And they're like, the fuck, Ray, why are you asking that? He's like, it's the culture. I felt called out in a way, because I'm like, that's literally how I sounded to my mom. It's like, well, why do you like Sinners so much? Well, she didn't ask me, but I'm defending Sinners with the defense of, well, it's the culture. And they're like, what culture? Obviously, Sinners does have culture, but I just felt, I felt called out, but I could laugh at myself. And I thought that was the point of Scary Movie, is we're going for all of you to laugh, so you can laugh at yourself. And I laughed at myself. I do know that they took out still a lot of scenes. So a lot of it just doesn't make sense to the story of this, because the whole opening was scrapped. It was supposed to be Art the Clown going after Tuesday in her house, but that got scrapped. They put in the Tatiana Maslany parts, which I thought was funny. It was really good to mock Scream 5. And instead of Ghostface revealing himself in that moment, he actually gets attacked by all of her crew, and I thought that was so funny. But I think it would have been neat if, like, John Abrams, who played Bobby in the original Scream, he makes a cameo, a very small cameo, mocking Smile. But if you didn't know, he was also in Terrifier 3. And I think it would have been neat if they could have, I don't know, just kind of pinpointed something like that, like, oh, put him in the Terrifier scene with Art the Clown. That would have been funny. The main thing, too, is there are so many things they're trying to give nods to. I did watch Sinners to lead up to this. Didn't really need to, because, again, this story is all over the place, and they only put that in, I think, well, a couple of times, mostly with Gay, again, to nod to Gay Ray and all that stuff. And that was a very funny scene, both of them. But the one in the trailer was already played, so I didn't really laugh during the film, because I'm like, I've seen that a million times. I already laughed my ass off at that part. I don't need to laugh my ass off in the theaters, especially twice. But their biggest fault in this is there is a criminal lack of the use of Chris Elliott in this film. If you remember in Scary Movie 2, he's the one with the small hand, his strong hand. And that film was so funny, because the funniest part to me was Chris Elliott's character with the man who's in the wheelchair. I don't remember his name, the actor's name. If someone can put in the comments, cool. But the funniest thing about that was that they were making fun of each other's disability the entire film. And what could be like, oh, you can't do that, they made it work. They made it hilarious. And that's what I was looking forward to. That kind of, oh, that shouldn't be allowed. That shouldn't be okay. But it works for a Scary Movie. But Chris Elliott, like, to me, carried that whole movie. And he's such a great actor. He's only in, like, one scene in the movie, and then a mid-credit scene that makes absolutely no sense. That you could tell they had a story for it, but they got it cut. They cut out so much of his scene and his story that it makes no sense. And to them cutting stuff, to me, it takes away, it's kind of hypocritical to the whole, well, there are no safe places, we're going after everyone. They actually did originally have a joke toward the president, and I think it would have been great if they had kept it. The president does actually not mind being laughed at. He was actually on a roast where people could obviously make fun of him. Not while he was president, but whatever. I think that would actually be a great thing if he just went ahead and went on the controversial shows, went on the shows that are like, hey, yo, president, we want you on the show so we can interview you. And instead of suing them, I'd be like, okay, bet, I'll be there. I'll answer your questions. I'll sit there. I'll be laughed at. Cool, go ahead. Again, I got called out with the whole, but it's the culture. Like, because I literally just did that right before seeing the film. I was able to laugh at myself. They had to cut it out because I guess it is important to respect the president, no matter who the president was, whether you agree with the one right now or you disagreed with the one in the past, or if you'll disagree with one in the future, you still have to respect them. So it seemed hypocritical for them to cut that, to be respectful to him when they said there's no safe places, we're going after everyone. To make there no safe places and just go ahead and go after everybody. I don't get it. You're not going after them with physical, like, harmful stuff. A joke is a joke. It's just funny. Had so much stuff out. They severely lacked Chris Elliott's character in this. Keenan Ivory Wayans didn't direct it. It was my most anticipated film, but so far, it's my most disappointing film. Again, I want to barrel roll laughs. I rewatched Scary Movie 1 and 2, and I was still barrel roll laughing at those films. This, I just didn't get it. There's also a scene with Doofy where he's like, get out of my yard, I'm not going to help you guys, and he shuts the door on their face. And then literally they go back to the house and he comes rolling up and he's like, Sir Officer Doofy reporting for duty. It's like, obviously something was cut to persuade him to go ahead and go with them. I do think all of Doofy's stuff was just hilarious though. Dave Sheridan reprising that role was absolutely great. They do, again, not only did they have to put in all the films of the last decade as references, but all the cultural stuff, the Me Too movement, I think there's something else they put in there, but they just like shoehorned it in. It didn't go anywhere with it. It's just in passing. I think the one other time something worked was the substance reference. Not that scene itself, but when Gail Hailstorm, that name still makes me chuckle. But when Gail Hailstorm goes to get the stuff, not the substance, but the stuff, and she gets knocked out, and then something crawls out of her, that did get a big reaction. Do you know why? Because it wasn't in the trailer, and it wasn't, in fact, I'm not going to say what it was. I'm not going to say the reveal, just like I'm not going to reveal who the ghost face were, because those are the best two parts. Go watch that I do say go watch it in theaters. I do say I did like it. I could rewatch it. Like I said, I've already watched it twice. When it is up for, do you want to go rewatch one of the past films of the year that we're about to go get into, or do you want to go rewatch Scary Movie? I just wanted to turn my brain off and go watch Scary Movie again. It's a good turn your brain off. You'll still get a couple chuckles. I am going to give it cinematic because of all the scary movies. This is the best looking one. I'm going to give it intrigue because it was intriguing. There's a lot of hype about it. It was the thing that got me back to doing film reviews. So I have to give it that. And rewatchable because, again, I've seen it twice. But unfortunately, that only gives us a D rating. So not the best. Again, so far, my most disappointed. I still love the trailer. I'll watch the trailer any day. I can't forget the hype I felt watching the trailer. I knew I'd want to come back And again, like I said in the intro, I now know who I'm going to be for Halloween. I'm going to be that Ghostface. Of course, bedazzled, because I love the diamond paint, so it has to be a bedazzled Ghostface. And then my husband's going as Doofy, but I can't wait till he says it again. If I can start getting him to be able to be on camera, you guys. I wish I could for our next film, because he has a lot more knowledge on our next film that we're going to talk about. But stay tuned. Please like, comment, subscribe, what you guys thought of this film. One very last point that I did want to mention about the controversy of the trans community. Obviously, in that opening scene, I'm sorry, I busted up laughing in the trailer when I saw that. And she's like, them, he stabbed them. That did get a huge freaking laugh out of me, because that's such a tiptoe conversation, and I'm tired of tiptoeing around it in general. That I'm just like, I can't wait to laugh about it all. But I do want to say that they did respect it very much. If you don't know, Marlon Wayans does have a trans kid, so of course it's not like he's just out there to attack them all. And I like what they did with Lochlyn Monroe and his son. That scene where he's like, okay, bye, baby girl. And he's like, I'm your baby boy. And he's like, okay, I'm sorry. It's hard for me to get used to this. And he's like, okay, but if you're a boy, then I'll hit you like a boy. And he gives him like a little, there you go, kiddo kind of hit. And he's like, you can hit me back. And he punches the shit out of him. And he's like, don't be such a bitch. And he goes up the stairs, and Lochlyn Monroe's character goes like, huh. Not bad. And then when Ghostface calls him, he's like, I'm after your little baby girl. And he's like, hey, she's a boy. I think that was very respectful. So yes, the trailer made it seem like, oh, we're going to attack them all and it's going to be this huge like thing. It wasn't. I think it was very respectful. Respectfully done. I do also want to talk about Anna Faris and Olivia Rose Keegan as the Campbells, Cindy and Sara Campbell. I did think it was interesting how Olivia Rose Keegan was really able to recreate a lot of Anna Faris's vibe, but at times she seemed more like she was just like like she had to have a substance, such as there's a scene where she takes some morphine, just a little, and then she starts really hamming it up as Anna Faris's character. And it's just like, well, that was the funny thing about Cindy. She was just a dumb blonde. She didn't need the morphine. She didn't need anything to make her that way. She just was not the smartest cookie in the cookie box. And I remember the reason I wanted to laugh at the last decade is I even got called out for saying I had a blonde moment. Someone got upset with me going like, nah, blondes are stupid. I'm like, it's literally just a fucking saying. Why are we getting that upset over a saying? And I do dye my hair blonde. I think that last round I did myself, and I did over bleach. So yeah, I was probably having stupid moments because of chemical issues. So like, what the fuck? Why am I sitting here having to defend saying I had a blonde moment? This is to the point of ridiculous, and that's when I just kind of wanted to go away from social media and everything anyway. And I still don't really talk on social media at all, but this made me feel a lot more comfortable to do so. Another film that I don't think people really recognize is also in there was Everything Everywhere All at Once. Yeah, they're doing John Wick when Anna Faris was like attacking all the ghost faces at the end. But the whole dildo scene where she was using that as a weapon, that was in Everything Everywhere All at Once. My husband and I also watched that a little bit later, not in the year it came out, but a little bit later. And that was in there as well, so I think that was a reference to that. But Anna Faris as Cindy, she, to me, took a backseat. But I did like when all the new kids were saying, oh yeah, we should definitely do this. It could be called The Young and the Reckless, and they're making fun of the original crew. And they're like, you know what, F you guys, and they burn them alive. And I was like, that is so freaking hilarious. But overall, I really did like it. Overall, it was an okay film. It wasn't the greatest. It wasn't the worst. I can rewatch it. but I'd rather rewatch one of the first two if I was gonna rewatch a scary movie. So that's about it. I still have more thoughts, but I could go on, and like you guys know, I ramble, and we are gonna go ahead and start talking about the next film. So please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys very shortly.